everyone, and welcome to another episode of Fund Hub Radio. I'm your host, Lindsay Tybus, and today I am joined by one of our personal event coaches, Becca, and one of the other chair people that she works with at a school in LaGrangeville, New York. This is Marie Hughes joining us today. Thank you guys both for being here.
Thank you.
Yes, of course. So today we are going to be talking to Marie and Becca about the success that Vale Farm Elementary has had with their annual color run. To get started, Marie, why don't you tell us a little bit about Vale Farm Elementary and the type of school it is, along with some enrollment and what your role within the school is, so that our listeners and viewers have a little bit of perspective on you guys in your school.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, ladies.
Yes.
My name is Marie. I am the PTA president at Vale Farm Elementary School, which is a K through 5 school in the Arlington School District in Dutchess County, New York. We have about 670 students, so there's about 5 of each grade, 6 kindergartens actually, and it's a pretty rural area. And I have been the PTA president this is my second year, but I have a 3rd grader and a 5th grader at the school. So I've been involved with various events with the PTA since my 5th grader was in kindergarten, and it's a slippery slope. And then you eventually become the PTA president. So here I am.
Yes, exactly. I know that, some of our personal event coaches that used to be, PTA presidents know a little bit about that and how you just kind of slip into that role.
Yeah, whoops.
Becca, I wanted to find out and maybe have you give us a little bit of insight on how you and Marie met and give us some background on your guys' relationship.
Sure. So I started working with Vale Farm in 2021. And from my understanding, and Marie, correct me if I'm wrong, Vale Farm had done a color run, or historically had done a color run in years past. And they were just kind of looking for a different way of bringing it online and seeing if they could raise more funds that way. So I met with a different board in 2021. And that was the first year that they used Fund Hub, and they did, a fantastic job. We talked about kind of what worked in years past and how we could kind of change it up, streamline, make things a little bit easier. And then, and they did a fantastic job. And then Marie got the position in 2022. And she was amazing from start to finish. Again, just very coachable, took all of my suggestions, and then started increasing each year of not only what they're raising, but different, fun aspects of their color run.
That's amazing. I love that. It sounds like you guys have a really good relationship, and, just being able to have that, coach and chairperson interaction, so that way, Becca can help Marie can give Becca ideas, and it's just a really, unique thing that we have here at Get Moving. And I love to hear, how you guys and how long you guys have been working together. So, Marie, I know Becca just kind of mentioned that you took on this role in 2022, and it sounds like you guys have been doing a color run for a little while. But do you happen to know how you guys were fundraising prior to an a-thon style fundraiser? I think maybe someone was talking about that. So do you know?
So for a couple of years with COVID, there was no color run. There weren't a lot of in-person events at all. But
Absolutely.
I know that my 5th grader had done a color run at Vale Farm, but it was through like a company that facilitates kind of the whole event itself.
Yes.
And the fundraising was minimal, because you spend a lot of your money on the people that are putting together the color run.
Right.
But it certainly seemed like we could do it ourselves in that part of the event and make the fundraiser a lot more lucrative. And I know when I took over as PTA president, my goal was to not do a bunch of the little, I will say, annoying fundraisers, just from the perspective of a parent. Like, there's nothing that makes you feel more like, ugh, than having to ask your friends and relatives if they want to buy wrapping paper and chocolates and various things just throughout the school year. It's so much more appealing. And I really stress this to all the parents, like, let's make this the thing that we go hard for. And then we don't need to go at all for anything else. We can just have fun and we can afford to pay for all the other things.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, it's not only just not having to have multiple fundraisers, but also just that people don't want to necessarily buy these products anymore. Or
Right.
I don't even know if they ever really did, but it's just people would rather just contribute to the cause than,
Hmm.
buy a chocolate bar that's, for lack of a better term, a little bit overpriced. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's just and it's also promoting healthy fundraising.
Yes.
It's getting the kids active. It's giving them a little like special thing to do once a year to celebrate the amount of money that they've raised for their school. So I think those are really some good points that you hit on. So let's get started on talking a little bit about your guys' actual color run, because I know it's a big event that you guys have, and it's super successful, and you guys have a really great time doing it. So Marie, walk us through, I should say, actually, the initial steps you guys took. It sounds like the color run was already in existence when you became PTA president,
Hmm.
but tell us a little bit about your experience with it and how you guys really get the ball rolling with this event.
Okay, so we do it at the beginning of the school year, which is good because it's like everybody's still got their energy
Yeah.
intact. And basically, one of the things that is important for me from my role is to hype it up like big time, even in the summer, that this is coming. Like, we're going to do this color run and it's going to be fun for your whole family. All the teachers are going to come out and throw color dust at the kids. We have food trucks. We have, all these different incentive prizes that they can earn their class, that they can earn as a school. We're going to get to color blast the principal and the assistant principal if we, exceed our goal. Yeah, I have, with the incentive prizes, one of the fun suggestions this year that Becca gave me was that gibbets were kind of a real vibe with kids, and that it's so affordable because you get like packs of 1,000 different gibbets, those little charms that go into Crocs. I didn't even know
Yes.
what they were. When she said it, I was like, oh, absolutely. What what is a gibbet? But but the kids love them. And of course, not everyone has Crocs. So one of the first things they earn is like their little bracelets that they can put the gibbets into. And I also found gibbets keychains on Etsy that I was able to get in bulk. And so they had those as well, and glow in the dark, and everything that's in the incentive prize list I made into like a brochure that was in full color. I had our local college give us a good deal to print in colors these like folding booklets of the prizes, because when the kids get those, they're pumped. And some
Yeah.
of the higher priced items, I went with like really silly prizes this year that were super affordable, but the kids were so excited about, like a realistic looking pizza, or no, it was a tortilla blanket.
Yeah.
It just looks like they're wrapping themselves up in a tortilla. And one of them was like a 3D 4-foot baguette pillow. Like, it's it's so ridiculous, but they were like, oh my gosh, I literally need
Right. Yep.
those top items. And so the first year we did very well. The first year that I was running the color run, we did very well also. But in the second year, I realized it's more about like kind of the novelty of what their incentives are versus the price that we're spending on it.
Right.
So, when they saw these kind of random cool to kid type things, they got very delighted to try to earn them. And our costs were really low.
Yeah. So definitely one of those first steps in executing the color run would be kind of what you're saying is finding things to get kids motivated, because if the kids aren't motivated, they're not going to go home and tell mom and dad, like, let's get registered. Let's, start helping our school raise money. You need to be able to have that, hey kids, this is why you want to get registered. This is why
Mhm.
you want to get some donations. And it's because if you do, you're going to get this really sweet tortilla blanket or these gibbets for your Crocs or bracelet. So I think that's a really, really good point to hit on. Becca, I'd be interested to hear from a fundraising coach's perspective, what are the critical first steps in planning a color run according to you?
So, and it doesn't matter if it's a color run or a fun run, readathon. I typically, start with my schools of, okay, number one, obviously what type of event, and kind of work your way backwards. So, one of the things that Vale Farm started to do before they started working with us is they had registration fees. So students would come in and they would have to actually participate in the event, they would pay, $15 and they get, a t-shirt, and it would help pay for that, those costs. And one of the things that we discussed is you actually will be making more money if all kids can participate. And it ended up being that way. So they didn't have to worry about that extra calculation and finding that, or collection of the registration. So, kind of how you want to run the event. Another thing is, they have to do it outside of school hours. It's color run, right? So you can't do it like during like gym period.
I didn't even think of that.
So, those logistics of like the day of the event, how does that look? And then working yourself backwards. Another great thing that Vale Farm does is they have food trucks at the event. So, then when do you need to start connecting with them and scheduling them? And then you kind of, again, work your way backwards. And then we start, with a good calendar of when things should be done based on the way that looks at the end.
I really like that, Marie, that you guys kind of almost make it like a community event. It's like, hey, come out to our color run. Our school just raised all this money. There's going to be food trucks. There, it's not only something to celebrate the amount of money that you guys raised, but also it's like bringing everybody together outside of school. I didn't realize that that's how you guys execute the event. That's a really, really great idea.
Yeah, we're lucky because we have a great big field behind our school.
Okay.
And there is like a little roundabout where the food trucks can park. Everything's very safe and contained. And we just map out the course ourselves in the grass, like using wooden stakes and this like neon tape to kind of create a little zigzag of a course. We're not like measuring it out for distance at all.
Right.
Nobody cares.
Right.
And to touch on what Becca said, like the participation without having to commit to any monetary amount, I think is huge. And what we did is for the classrooms that had the most participation, that's who would win the class incentive prizes versus the class with the highest amount raised, because I feel like that makes it really fair. Like everybody just get registered and come to the color run. And, if everybody in your class or the most percentage in your class, you guys are going to get a popsicle party or a popcorn party, a pajama day, different things like that. And it really does make a difference. Everybody can be a part of it. Everyone can run the color run, whether they raise anything or they raise $600, it doesn't make a difference. So it's nice.
Yeah, that's a cool way of being inclusive too, just because, there are kids of all different kinds of walks of life that are in, schools. So being able to reward them based on registration is a really, really good way to be inclusive to all students. Of course we want to raise money, but at the same time, it's like about everybody being included and, having a way to give those kids incentives as well. So that's a really, really good point that you made there. So I want to touch on a little bit, Marie. The color run is a really great event to do, but it is an event that may require a little bit more of planning, logistics, work, for lack of a better term. But so how do you go about assembling a team and recruiting volunteers for this event? And what roles amongst that team do you think are most crucial?
Okay, so I will say the prep and lead up to the event, I do pretty much take that on by myself. And in a way, it's like that too many cooks in the kitchen kind of philosophy. Like when you're picking out the prizes and making the brochure and doing the social media posts and things like that, I think it's kind of good to have one person that's just leading the charge. However, when it comes to the day of the event and the day before the event, that's when you need all hands on deck. And so I'm lucky to have a great PTA board that comes out into the field with me, and we, hammer in those wooden stakes and tape off all the, the course directions. And then I make just a regular sign up genius for volunteers to come the day of and get everybody checked in, get them their bib. We do like we get kind of these custom race bibs printed with our school
Yeah.
design on it. And that's very affordable to do through Amazon. And yeah, so it's, we probably have, I would say, at least 20 parents that are helping out the night of the event. And what's nice is because we have food trucks, we don't need people like manning any tables or anything like
Right.
that.
Yeah.
We don't need to put any money into that either. The food trucks,
Mhm.
you know, they deal with all of that themselves. And most of them end up giving us a donation at the end of the night anyway. So it's actually, we make money on it. Whereas other events that are indoor events, you know, you have to hope that you didn't buy too much food and it's going to cut into your profits. So outdoor events are nice like that. But yeah, we also get help from the teachers because they are the ones that throw the color dust, which is a real adventure for them. But yeah, it's really just telling people like it's going to be fun, and it is. It's not like a real heavy lift. Probably the biggest amount of work is the day before when we're
Yeah.
just creating the course. But we have a good time with it. It's, you know, it's
Yeah.
outside, it's in the fall, it's not too hot. Of course, this year we did have it rained out the first attempt and then had to reschedule. But actually, the silver lining is we raised a little bit more money
True.
in that
Yeah.
extra week. So, you know,
Right.
it worked out.
You can always push that date out a little further. And, you know, those dates in Fund Hub, our donation platform, are super customizable. So if
Yeah.
you're like, you know, we want to push it out a week and have a rain date, that's totally doable.
Mhm.
So basically, from what I heard, and this is a really good point to make to our viewers and listeners, is other than execution, you can really do this on your own. Like, you know, of course, it might be a little bit of extra work if you don't have a team, like, you know, Marie was saying, but, you know, and she's also right in saying, you know, you might not want a lot of cooks in the kitchen, but it's something that can be done on your own. And as far as execution, you know, you recruit a couple, you know, 20 parents to help with various tasks throughout the day. But other than that, really, you don't need a whole lot of volunteers.
Yeah.
So kind of going on the same topic of the event, as far as logistics and organizing the event, talk to us a little bit about that, especially regarding like safety measures and how you plan the route and things like that, just to make sure, you know, everybody's covered and, you know, in case if something happens, you guys are good to go.
Yeah. So the main thing that we do in terms of making sure, for example, that the kindergartners don't get trampled by the fifth graders is we have a sound system that we use and we call out one grade level at a time. So they go in waves so that it's a manageable group at a time. And there's teachers along the course. So everybody, you know, is behaving, so to speak, like they're having a good time, but they're not insane while they're running. And it's a pretty short, simple course. And we have it set very wide so that a lot of kids can be shoulder to shoulder when it starts. But that's really the main thing. We also do allow parents to sign up to be runners and siblings that are not students at the school. And they would just run in the same wave as their kid in that grade level. So we've never had any real issues. We also recommend it, especially kids with asthma or anything like that, to have goggles and wear a mask or a bandana, something like that while they're doing it.
For the color.
Sometimes kids and adults are more sensitive to the dust, but it really hasn't been a big issue. We've actually had a few parents at the end come with those leaf blowers and blow the dust off of the kids. So
I love that,
which they think is so fun. But yeah. So it's, you know, pretty safe, and we're not close to any traffic. Like I said, we're not like on a road where we have the run is the back of the school that just goes out into forever. So
yeah. And it sounds like too that when the grades that aren't running, like there's things for people to do, there's those food trucks and things like that. So it's like when, you know, you're kind of creating a community by having everybody come out to the color run after school or on the weekend or whenever you guys have it. And then everybody can kind of be there, but then to make it safe and not having like, you know, fifth graders and kindergartners running all over the place at the same time, having those waves is a really good way to kind of separate it out. But while people aren't running, like you said, there's other things to do. There's music, there's, you know, food trucks and stuff like that. So that's a really unique way to, execute the event. So that's really, really good stuff there. Marie, I think that how did you guys engage your school and wider community in the color run? And also, I guess this is more of a question like I specifically have is, are those food trucks, is that something that like you guys pay for, or are these like sponsors and things like that? So tell us a little bit about how you guys engage the community and how you guys kind of execute those extracurriculars along with the event.
Yeah, so we do have a few local businesses that will donate things like bottled water, and sponsor. We'll have like a finish line sponsor, a starting line sponsor.
Cute.
So they'll put in a little. But as far as the food trucks, like they want to come to our events because there's like 1,000 people there, so they're gonna make a lot of money. So we don't pay anything for the food trucks.
That's great. I didn't even think of that.
Great. Yeah. And the main thing is to just make sure to book your food truck super early. If you're like in our area, there's a lot of food trucks that are super popular. So if you don't reserve a date, especially we try to always have the color run on a Friday.
Okay.
So, and it's in the fall. So there's like different schools having their homecoming or football games, and we got to get in before they do. But yeah, like I already have stuff booked for June in September, just because I know like if we want a food truck, if we want, empanada mama, which we do, then,
Right.
then we got to call her right away.
Yeah. That's really good points and good tips for planning.
Yeah.
Becca, do you have any tips on attracting sponsors and leveraging leveraging the support of the sponsors effectively for, big events like this?
Yeah. So, okay, first and foremost, you just got to ask everybody. Like, and don't be afraid. And we have some sample letters that can give an idea of like if you're going to be doing like emails or flyers, but like walking into every single business. And of course, businesses, if you're obviously looking for something tangible, like, food trucks and water and things like that, you want to go ask them specifically. But there are, business sponsors that, real estate agencies, orthodontists that will give monetary amounts to, and they want to be part of the community. They, especially like dentists and orthodontists, those are great ones because your kids at the elementary are seeing these doctors, right? So they want to get the more business and putting them on t-shirts and things like that. So, first and foremost, just to ask everybody. And, you may want to start earlier. So I always tell my schools, especially if they're a fall school, spending the summer, every time you go into a business over the summer, hand them a flyer or an email and then follow up, or, and you can do that. But just, ask everybody.
Yeah, of course. That's a great tip. And don't be afraid to, if the worst they can say is no, and if they say yes, everybody's better off for it. So really, that's a great piece of advice. So we are getting close here to the end of our episode here. So Marie, I just kind of wanted to end off with one final question here. And that is, what kind of advice would you give to other schools or PTAs looking to host their first color run?
Okay. My biggest piece of advice would be to just be prepared to really make it a hyped up event so that everyone in your school community understands that this can be it, and you will be able to pay for all of the fun things, and then list all of the fun things, your winter workshop, your talent show, your teacher grant, so that we can get new supplies, new wobble chairs. All of the things are paid for through this one big effort that we'll do as a community together. So, I mean, all the hype you can do. I literally dress up like the Vale Farm Falcon and wave at the front of the school with big signs like the color run is coming. Like, just don't be afraid to go insane to get people excited and pumped up about the event. So, and especially even if you have a fifth grader who couldn't be more embarrassed that you have dressed up like a falcon, really deep down, she knows. It's going to make a big difference, and we'll be able to pay for all the things at school all year.
Yes, absolutely. Those are really some great pieces of advice. I think that one that really we should emphasize for our viewers and listeners is make sure the parents at the very least, if not the donors as well, know what the money is going towards. That will help your fundraiser immensely. If they're like, oh my gosh, if this means my kids get to go on a field trip, if this means my kids are going to get new technology in their classroom, if this means that my kids are going to get a new, gym equipment or recess equipment to be able to utilize at school. I mean, that is going to really just get them to click that donate button, click that share button so they can share with friends and family so that they know how this is going to help your kids' schools and students' schools. I mean, that is just a huge piece of advice, So really, Marie, I want to thank you so much for joining us today. I loved hearing about the way that you guys do your color run at Vale Farm Elementary. And Becca, also thank you for joining us today. I think it was really great having the coaches' insight here as well, just to kind of give us some different perspectives on, best practices for a color run. So I appreciate you guys both for joining me today.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Of course. And so thank you guys, my viewers and listeners, our viewers and listeners, for joining us today on another episode of Fund Hub Radio. And we will see you guys next time. Bye.